So we are back, game week 3 in the WSL, Man United's first foray into the Champions League, and the Championship continues to deliver. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. So there is plenty to discuss on today's short, sharp run through. Firstly, never mind the clocks going back. Someone said this to us in our comments. More so than the clocks going back, you changing from a snapback to a beanie is the mark of winter. And you are here, you're wearing your fleecy trousers, you're drinking a hot chocolate, you've got your beanie on.
Yeah, it is cold. You felt my hands.
I'm
absolutely freezing. I do not do well in this weather at all. I am a beach person, I am a sun person, and for some reason I've had 3 winters this year. So I'm feeling the cold at the moment, and I'm just hunkering down, ready for the winter.
Note to everybody, wrap up. Winter's coming. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribing to the pod, by the way. If you want to leave us a review, or you fancy, dropping us a message, let us know what you want to chat about, what stood out for you this week. We would love to hear from you. Obviously, Girls on the Ball on all of the platforms. Today, we are going to be looking at, we've got results across the WSL, some surprising, some last minute, some perhaps more expected. We'll delve into that a little bit. We're going to touch on United's first foray into the Champions League. That is twice I've used the word foray in this podcast. A very quick run through the excitement of the Championship, and we will finish off with Sophie's standout moment of the week.
No pressure.
Surprise, Soph, by the way. You've got about 17 and a half minutes to think of one for our listeners. You're our inside queen, so I'm sure people will be intrigued to find out what it is this week. Right, guys, for those who maybe missed it, let's go through the results. We've got Chelsea beating West Ham 2-0. Sam Kerr and Erin Cuthbert on the score sheet. We were at that one. Man United 1, Leicester 1. Whelan and Letizia on the score sheet. Man City 5-0 against Bristol. 2 for Ward, 2 for Shaw and Alexandri. I think slap bang in the middle potentially. I'm not sure which order that went in. Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 1. Just. Pacheco, McCabe and Russo on the score sheet. Brighton 1, Spurs 3. We were at that one too. Turlin, Thomas, Clinton and Percival. And then we had Liverpool 0, Everton 1 with Finnegan getting on the score sheet. So plenty to run through. Are you ready, Soph?
I think so.
Okay, let's start with...
I've got to be.
You're here.
I have no choice.
Let's start with Saturday evening's game. Chelsea 2, West Ham 0. We were at this game. Summary for our listeners, Soph. Chelsea deserved winners, but West Ham impressed.
Yeah, I think Chelsea dominated in terms of possession. They created chances. But West Ham, Emma Hayes described them as 100 times better than they were last year.
Wow.
And I think it was evident that she's pretty much correct. West Ham have a real tactical plan about them now, I think. Rianne Skinner's done a lot of work, she was saying, on building their confidence in and out of the ball. They have a real idea of the way that they want to play. I think they created 14 chances against Chelsea. I think there was only 2 on target, but creating 14 chances against a team like Chelsea is pretty big. And it was just I think those moments of composure where Rianne Skinner also said it, you have a team who know how to win and they will take their chances, and you have a team who's still developing and probably aren't quite as composed in those moments that come. She was saying how Rika Ueki is really adapting to the league, but also has to adapt to English football. So while she's doing really well, it will take her a bit of time to fully settle in. But I think they got the pressing really, really well in the first half. They had a few chances on the counter-attack as well. But Chelsea just showed their quality at the end of the day, and a Chelsea attack that started with Fran Kirby, Sam Kerr and Lauren James. I think that's the first time they've started a game since February.
Wow, all 3.
This year, when Fran did her knee.
Yeah.
So I think that's such a real boost for Chelsea fans, because you could tell they were rusty. I think Sam Kerr had numerous chances and she scored just one of them. So I think that will come with time. She's not really trained much, but you can see the dynamism that attack really brings to Chelsea, and it's only exciting going forward as you build into the season.
Well, welcome back, Sam Kerr, back on the score sheet as well, so that's excellent to see. And I think respect to West Ham, who kind of stuck to their playing out from the back, desire to get forward. Really nice to see from a West Ham team. And yeah, it was a good match, I thought.
They had really strong periods in the game. After the at the beginning of the second half, they came out really strong, and I think Kirsty Smith did that acrobatic effort. Musovic tipped over the bar. Ueki had a couple of chances. They are creating, and that's the real positive thing going forward for this team. A Chelsea game is kind of a free hit for them. Last year it was catastrophic in the cup. I think they lost 7-0. So that's improvement, and they really have a bit of oomph about them, I think.
I think that's probably something we can say about a lot of teams challenging now, is it's that composure in the final third. That's the thing they need to work on. Next up, Man United versus Leicester. The early kickoff on Sunday, 1-1, 0-0 at the break, and Leicester then took the lead before Letizia equalised. So if you were impressed with what you saw from Leicester?
I was. I think their work rate was the standout thing. I think they've become you can tell how confidence breathes through the team at the moment. And yes, you go to Manchester United, you don't expect to have much of the ball. They didn't have much of the ball. United did outplay them in that respect, and in terms of chances.
Rattled the crossbar.
They rattled the crossbar, yeah. But I think they changed something at half-time. Willie Kirk said that he was a bit unhappy with the press at half-time. They were a bit cautious in that first half, and they came out full of energy in that second half. They got their goal. I do think Millie Turner made a bit of a hash of the clearance, the header that went for Whelan. And then obviously Letizia getting her goal. But I think the work rate and the effort that they put into getting that point, to coming away from Leigh Sports Village with a point, that you wouldn't have seen that from Leicester last year. And it's a testament to the progress that they've made. I think they earned their pizza. Hopefully Willie Kirk splashed out on the pizza. I know he said if it was a win, but I think they kind of deserved it for yesterday's effort. And Sophie Howard was excellent.
United were having to manage this game between two very important Champions League fixtures. Do you think maybe they had one eye on that as well?
I think it's new territory for Mark Skinner these days. He's going to have to rotate with all of these fixtures, and if they get through on Wednesday night into the group stage of the Champions League, that's going to make it even more so with the fixtures that would possibly come up before Christmas. But I think it's also right that he rotates. Right, he's amassed a pretty plentiful squad, lots of depth, and those players need to play minutes. I did think it was a bit interesting that Jay-Z was not involved at all. She picked up a dead leg, I think he said, against Arsenal.
But he kind of minimised it. He didn't. He said it wasn't really that big a deal.
So I think she was just being rested to come back. I think it was really interesting. That was the first time Ella Toone had been rested in a WSL game since October 2020.
Wow.
I mean, she needs it. She is tired. She needs a break. Yeah. So I think it was good that he did that. But I think it will frustrate him that his team couldn't find the way through without those players. And they had their chances. Miyazawa came so close, but they just couldn't find the real punch point.
Yeah, I think there's an element as well of new players finding their feet in the league and getting sharp again, so I'm sure that will come. Another Manchester team, Manchester City, 5-0 drubbing of Bristol, extending an unbelievable home record to 21 games unbeaten, and also a record 5 headers in a match. Yep. All the goals, headers. Greenwood back too into the fold after her red card suspension because there was Conti Cup midweek, so she served that. Yeah. Lauren Hemp injured. What did you make of that? City a team to watch, but also probably a free hit for Bristol?
I think they are a team to watch. A good point on Alex Greenwood. I was reading the Opta stats, and Alex made 135 accurate passes in the game, which is insane. 1 assist as well. But I think the annoying part for Bristol will be, most importantly, those 2 goals that they conceded in injury time of the first half. I think that is a problem for them. They did it against Spurs last week. They conceded in injury time in the first half. And it really just killed... I know 3-0 kills off any hope anyway, but it really, conceding in that short space of time
5-0 really at half-time
makes it a mountain to climb, and you go in with your head down and everything. So I think that had a massive psychological impact. I mean, Bristol wouldn't have been expecting to get anything out of that game, I don't think. Realistically, you could have. I think Lauren Smith was very clear that they were going up to try and implement their game plan and what they're trying to do, but kind of without the pressure that maybe we all tried to put on them. So I think for Bristol, there are bigger fights to come, more important fights to come than Manchester City away. But I think, City were impressive.
Yeah, and I think as well, Bristol will probably take positives from the fact that it was technically, 0-0 in the second half. They managed to hold it together, which was good. And Bunny Shaw's back in the score sheet as well. 2 goals, 2 headers, like everybody else. So that'll be really good for City as well to have gotten through that kind of difficult period last week, that difficult match, the 2 red cards, through that now, is a good sign. And you've got Bunny back and Bunny scoring. So yeah, definitely a team to watch. Okay, this was probably the most dramatic game of the weekend. Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 0. And I said this in the intro, just. A normal WSL weekend does not exist anymore. Villa looked set to pick up the first 3 points of the season and hand Arsenal another defeat at the Emirates. But it all kicked off at injury time. Talk us through it.
I think that would be the most frustrating part for Aston Villa because I think they approached the game so well and they nullified Arsenal's threats. For the most part, they forced them out wide. They were limiting their chances. There wasn't really any cut through for Arsenal. But once again, injury time comes to them, and it was the same against Manchester United. In the first game of the season, that winner came in the 94th minute or something, and to concede in the 2nd and 4th minute this time, I think Carla Ward will be particularly annoyed about that, just because, or frustrated, because there was a ridiculous amount of injury time. I mean, it's a theme across the league, but you still have to stay switched on. And
it's something you now have to prepare for going forward. You know that this is going to happen. We've been seeing it.
And before too long, it becomes a trend. So you've got to be super, super, switched on about that and trying to fix it, because it's I think they were properly tired, probably, but it's also a mentality thing. I think on the flip side, an Arsenal team 2 years ago would not be winning that game. And they wouldn't be drawing with Manchester United like they did last week. They are finding those goals in those late moments, and they're going right to the very end and turning games around or getting something out of them. And I think that's absolutely key progress that we've seen from them going forward.
The thing we need from Arsenal, and we've said this over previous seasons as well, is the chances they're creating. They created something like 25 or 28 chances, but so few of them are actually on target.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. At one point, I don't know who tweeted it, but basically Arsenal had 2 defenders, 1 midfielder and 7 attackers or something on the pitch. You had Lacasse, Russo, Mead, Paloma was in there, Katie McCabe was up front, Caitlin Ford was there as well. It obviously worked, an absolute worldie from Katie McCabe. She nearly blew a hole in the back of the net. And then what was lovely to see, not only Beth Mead coming back, but an assist as well for Russo, and Russo getting her first goal at the Emirates was great to see as well. And the warmth and positiveness around that team afterwards, kind of celebrating the return of Beth Mead, was lovely to witness as well. So that will be a big boost. I did kind of think the way that they'd gotten back into that Manchester United game was going to kick them on, and then they kind of had a similar thing again against Villa where they just weren't converting. So we'll see how this performance inspires them next weekend, but they will be breathing a sigh of relief that they have got those 3 points.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating that they had so little impact within the 90 minutes, and they couldn't find the cut through. I think I read somewhere that they did 50 crosses or something. A problem again, but it's really important that they find ways through, and so it doesn't really matter how you win in the end as long as you win games. But I think that is so important in terms of confidence building. They've had a massive knock with being knocked out of the Champions League. That is going to affect you. So the fact they are coming through, building on, they've got attackers who are scoring, Blackstenius last week, Russo getting her first goal, that's a massive weight off for her, Lacasse as well last week. So I think getting people on the score sheet, getting people back, Viv won't be far behind Beth, I don't think, maybe another 6 weeks or a month or something. So that's going to be really important as well. And that just adds to the good feeling around the club. Yeah.
Okay, another game we were at yesterday. Brighton 1, Spurs 3 at the Amex Stadium. Love the Amex Stadium. A good start, bright, end-to-end at times. Brighton probably had the better of the first half, but then Thomas nicked that goal at the death of the first half, and it seemed to just swing the momentum. Spurs came out better in the second half. What did you make of the game?
I think it was, it became end to end. I was actually quite surprised looking at the stats at the end because it didn't seem like it during the game, but Tottenham had so many more chances than Brighton.
Yeah.
They had something like 20 chances.
A theme of this Tottenham team this season is the amount of chances they're creating.
Yeah, and they're creating them all over the pitch. And I think he's really astute to the way he wants his team to play, the way he wants his wing-backs or his full-backs to push up. And sort of act as wingers at the time and support that attack. Drew Spence comes out to the right. She sort of floats in and out of that midfield area to support the attack too. The form of Martha Thomas is incredible. I wrote about it actually today in a piece for The Guardian, is that, she was kind of not planned, I don't think, really, as a purchase. It was only really when Bethany England got her hip surgery that Spurs were like, we need to find
a number 9.
Mm-hmm. We need to find a target player. And they it's not an easy position to fill, but they've kind of come up trumps on it because she wasn't being played at United that much. She's a confidence player, I think. And when she's given that confidence, she can thrive.
And it doesn't matter how she's scoring toe pokes with her bum, her back, whatever, once the ball's going in the back of the net.
But also, as with so many of these strikers these days, she has so much more than just goals. Like her press, her chasing down, like all of it.
She's dogged, isn't she?
She's dogged.
Like Beth England.
She adds so much more to the game than just goals, and then that's the icing on the cake, I guess. But 4-4 in all competitions. Really, really good record there.
And then the final game of the weekend was the Merseyside derby. Everton winning this 1-0. Statistics say Everton were the favourites because they're the ones who tend to win the Merseyside derbies. But then I'd say many probably thought that the red side of Liverpool would be getting bragging rights out of this one based on form. And actually, as Matt Beard had said, form goes out the window. And it was Everton that came away with the 3 points.
I think,
With derbies, form goes out the window. There's something extra.
And I think
Anfield.
Everton do have a hold over them at the moment, especially in that fixture. Liverpool had so many chances, especially in that first half.
That Missy Bo Kearns chance at the beginning.
Yeah,
I don't think that was offside.
I think Hawke was offside, and she didn't touch the ball. She wasn't inactive. So,
but you can also understand it when it's that close and there's no goal line VAR or anything like that. You can almost forgive those ones.
But then you could argue if it's that close, it's not offside.
Okay.
I just don't think, like, I also, sort of the romantic in me, Missy Bo scoring at Anfield would have been, one of the sort of fairy tale stories.
Yes.
She talked to us in the media day before the season about, how much playing for Liverpool means for her. She used to go to Melwood as a 8-year-old kid and stand on the bins to watch her training at Melwood, and now she's training there. And I think it would just have been like a fairy tale. So the romantic in me was like, that should have stood. But then also Courtney Brosnan made a huge save to keep that Kerry Holland shot out. So big kudos to Everton. They got the job done. Megan Finnegan with the goal again. She scored last year, I think, in the same fixture. And it could be a result that really kickstarts Everton's season because they have been struggling. And I know as much as Brian Sorensen says they are creating and they've been unlucky, they haven't been getting the results. And this might be that boost that they need.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. Will this be a kick on for them? Because their next fixture is Manchester United. But Manchester United obviously have a very important game this week, so it could be an opportunity for Everton to capitalise.
Yeah, I mean, they've just got to take it, I think, is the old cliche, game by game, opponent by opponent, but it'll be nice walking into the training ground this week.
Yeah,
and sort of having a win in your back, knowing your efforts were paid for, winning a derby as well. I thought an especially cute moment was when Tony Duggan brought her little girl in front of the Kop when they were celebrating the Kop, which doesn't happen very often, maybe for Everton fans or at all, because that's normally, I think, the Liverpool end. But she wasn't the happiest of kids for the team photo. She had a little bit of a cry, I think, but it was very, very cute.
Yes. Well, as the league stands, nobody's had a perfect start. Everyone has dropped points somewhere. Manchester City, Leicester and Chelsea are all on 7 points. You've got Spurs and Liverpool on 6, United on 5, Arsenal on 4, Everton, West Ham and Brighton on 3, and Villa and Bristol at the bottom yet to pick up a point. So it is very exciting. Okay, don't forget, Sophie's standout moment of the week is coming up. I hope you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Good, okay. We're going to move on to midweek Champions League, another game we were at. We drove all the way up to Lee. And I have to say, again, 1-1, I have to say, I sat there in the first half and it was probably the worst half of football I've seen Manchester United play. And I was like, I cannot believe we've driven up midweek to watch this. We have to drive home. We're going to get home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm watching that first half and I was like, oh my God. And then Skinner makes a few changes at halftime. Bloody hell, it was like some of the best football we've seen Manchester United play and it made it totally worth it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. The second half was totally different. I think I've said it to you a couple of times that Mark Skinner is not a conservative coach and he doesn't set his teams up normally with that attitude to be particularly defensive. And that's what really surprised me by the inclusion of Jade Riviere in
out of position
as a right forward or right winger, rather than in her normal defence. And when I saw the team sheet, I was like, she's going to be a wing back. Like he's going through at the back, try and give that defensive solidity, and she'll be helping the attack down the wing, but also be able to. She didn't know what she was doing in that first half. She struggled to get any kind of rapport with Hannah Blundell at all, and when he got her off at half time and put on Jay-Z and Lucia Garcia went out to the right. It just made they were defending from the front, and by doing that they were pushing PSG back. Now it left them exposed on the counter.
Yeah,
that's how PSG got their goal. And there's always a danger of that. But actually, I think it showed that you can't really be conservative with these things. You either face a barrage of attacks from PSG or you limit them to those occasions where they can break forwards. And I think they did pretty well in the second half. I do wonder what a day out at the Parc des Princes is going to be like.
With those PSG, ultra fans,
PSG
so
fans are loud. It's going to be a real baptism into the Champions League. And it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, all to play for in Paris this week. And we will be going. We will try and take you with us as well, so keep your ears peeled. Listen out for it. Okay, quick run through the Championship. Again, no such thing as a normal week here either. The results, Watford 1, Lewis 2. Lewis picking up a win. Excellent for them. Sunderland 3, Reading 1, Sheffield 0, Birmingham 4, Palace 6, London City Lionesses 1, Blackburn 0, Charlton 1, Southampton 2, Durham 1. So Southampton are now top of the table on 15 points. Sunderland joining them there, same number of points. Palace in third on 14 points. Then you have Charlton and Blackburn on 12. So it's so close between fifth and first, just 3 points separating them. Then you've got Reading on 9 points in sixth, with just 5 points separating them from Watford and Lewis on 4 points, propping up the table. So there's really not much in it in the bottom half either.
All I can say is that was absolutely vital for Lewis, and I think it was an 88th minute goal. So a really late goal, but it keeps them in touching distance with the rest of the pack. If they'd lost that to Watford, which is the other team, well, I mean, there's 2 relegation spots this year, but it would have put them in a bit of a hole. So, absolutely vital. And yeah, it's a really, really interesting league. Sunderland are actually really surprising me. I mean, their eye-catching result is the Crystal Palace one, the 6-1. But Sunderland are really surprising me this season. They're unbeaten, as are Crystal Palace. They're doing really, really well.
Well, I'm sure I'll be saying something entirely different on next week's episode. So stay tuned. We'll see how they get on this week. Okay, drum roll, please. For the first time on the pod, Sophie's standout moment of the week. It can be a goal, it can be a player, it could be a movement that you particularly enjoyed on the pitch. What has stood out for you this week, Sophie, our resident stats queen, keeper of the knowledge, guru of the games? Am I being biased? Maybe. But I've really built it up now.
Really
I hope it's good.
Bigging me up so much.
Hit me. What is it?
Well, I'm sort of going to go with 2, and it's not very.
You're already breaking the rules. This is the first time you're breaking the rules.
So my first one is a big shout out for Beth Mead.
Okay.
She's been out 11 months to come on to make that assist for the goal. Real impact, shows exactly what she can do for Arsenal, and just really exciting to have her back, and for the England team as well, I think, going forward. So that's one thing. The other one I'm going to shout out is Grace Clinton for Tottenham. Scored an absolute worldie to put Tottenham ahead in the second half. And I think she is a player to keep your eye on. She is 20 years old, obviously on loan from Manchester United, spent last season at Bristol. But she has an insane quality in that area. And Robert Wilhelm described her as he's said that in the future she's going to be the best number 10 and she will be a number 10 for the national team.
Wow.
And it's hard to disagree with him. She can play across the midfield area or across the forward area. She started on the left side for Tottenham. He changed her into a 10 and then she scored the goal. So she's just still learning, still developing, but she's got all of the attributes going forward to be a big player in the future. And she's just genuinely a lovely girl as well. So
the goal as well. If you haven't seen it, go and find it. I thought Nicky Everard's reaction in the Brighton goal kind of summed it up. Like absolutely diving up to get a fingertip to it, couldn't, and just ended up flat on her back and she just lay there. She's just like, oh my God, I think, which most of us were thinking. Well, that was pretty good. That was a good first standout moment of the week.
Thank you.
Let us know. I did build it up.
Pat on the back.
Let us know your standout moment of the week. We'd love to hear from you. Also your predictions for Champions League midweek. Do we think that Manchester United are going to go through? What fixtures are you most looking forward to next week? We'll be at Villa versus Tottenham. Big game. Villa really need to get some points on the board. Leicester versus Man City. We're also going to do that on the way home. Then I'm doing Chelsea versus Brighton. You're doing West Ham versus Liverpool, plus the small matter of Champions League in the midweek for us to get to Paris, something else to do. So we will have loads to talk about next week. So we will see you all then. Again, make sure you have subscribed and we will see you all soon.